So the question is, where will education be in 10 to 20 years? It's kind of an interesting question, and it's one that's kind of near and dear to me right now. I have a son who is 12 years old, so he'll be entering as a traditional college student in 6 to 7 years. I have a daughter who is 3 years old, so she'll be entering traditional university or college in 15 to 16 years. So that gives me the opportunities. I really get to watch a lot of this unfold and see what develops, and I'm very interested to see what types of educational opportunities and pedagogical changes occur between the time that he enters college and the time that my daughter enters college. I think a couple of things that should be pointed out in that question are some assumptions that currently exist about the educational system. For many students who sit in a classroom right now in a very regimented system, there are certain assumptions that they have. It's what they're learning internally about education itself. When I was younger, I studied history, and I can remember as a kid, I used to hear people talk about these mysteries in history, or how did it really happen, the Boston Massacre or Roanoke and things like that. And I always thought in my head that somewhere there was this book, the history book, and all the recorded history. And I always wondered why somebody just didn't go look in that book to see exactly what really happened. I bring this up, and hopefully it'll become more relevant in a moment, but it's a piece of my past that I never try to forget. For many students today, learning is really just about the acquisition of knowledge, the acquisition of facts or content. I think we can also say that there's this belief, or this understanding at least, that information is scarce, like the history book. It's that one place, and that's where it's all housed. I think we can also say that students believe that authoritative knowledge is beyond discussion, that somebody with a PhD somewhere wrote a book, wrote a paper, gave a lecture, and that's the way it is. It's very factual, and that's all I need to know. Back to the history book example. So I used to have this belief that there was that one central piece, and that was part of the way in which the education system encultured me, that I saw this as knowledge. I saw this as something to be written down, something to be remembered. But I think that's changing. I hope that it's changing. I think we're starting to see signs of a different type of expectation that students are having. For instance, more and more students learning is about the application of knowledge and about problem solving. Whether it's in the educational institute is another question. But I think learning in general, students have really come to see, problem. How do I get what I need? How do I solve this problem? I also think that there's a change in expectations around information. Knowledge is plentiful now. We expect to be able to find things. People who do internet searches, they expect, in all honesty, to find exactly what they're looking for in the first page, maybe 2 pages on a Google search. Having to go beyond that usually means I need to refine the way I'm searching, change my keywords. But there is this, again, underlying belief that knowledge is there. It's readily available. I just need to go look for it and know how to look for it. I also think that there's a change in the way people perceive knowledge. I think what we're seeing isn't so much that the authoritative piece of knowledge is beyond discussion. I hope that what we're beginning to understand is that knowledge is really constructed, and it's through that discovery and discussion and that overall construction that any semblance of learning or knowledge or reality is actually manifested. So, again, my son, who is 12, is going to be entering school here in 6 to 7 years, to be entering college. I think he's going to have a very different expectation than current college students do. I think we're already beginning to see some semblance of what he will be expecting. Not so much that the content will change, but that the delivery and the pedagogy hopefully will change. He's not a digital native. I'm not a proponent of the theory of a digital native. At least I don't believe that they exist yet. I think a very small minority of students in higher education right now are what you would classify as a digital native. Most of them still are unfamiliar with a lot of the technology that we're trying to use to help educate them. But he certainly is going to be more adept at technology than, say, I was when I was in school. I didn't actually get my first computer until a year after I graduated from college, and that was in 1995. Yeah, 1995. And that was when I got my first computer, whereas my son got his first computer when he was in 5th grade. My daughter, on the other hand, is 3 years old and will be entering school when she's 18, 19 years old, so I got about 15 years, thankfully. Hopefully I'll have the son's college paid off before the daughter enters. But at any rate, the expectations that she's going to have for education, I can't even begin to imagine. The rate at which we're changing, the rate at which new technologies are being introduced, it's hard to speculate exactly what she will be expecting. I do think, though, that this concept of social knowledge, of social networking, of social discussions, I don't think that that's going to disappear. I think that's something that's an inherent truth about knowledge, that it is socially constructed, it is culturally constructed. So I hope that when she's ready to enter an institute of higher education, that's something that we've really come to grips with and learned to apply in a new and hopefully dynamic way. I think what I can say for sure about the both of them is that when they enter school, I think maybe not what they expect, but what they really need is a system that embraces the integration of technology in a way to enhance learning. One of the things I'm not a proponent of is this notion of just taking something because it's shiny or because it's new or because it's cool. There's a lot of applications out there, a lot of ed tech out there that does some incredibly cool stuff, but it doesn't necessarily have an impact on how we teach. And on top of that, I think the other thing we have to be very careful of is the understanding that pedagogy has to change. You cannot take a traditional classroom model and drop it into online learning. You cannot take a book and drop it into a PDF and expect the same type of interaction with the student. I think if we try to make it fit that model, we will be doing it a disservice, and we'll be doing ourselves a disservice. I think it has a lot more potential than that. And so the way in which we really work with our students, the way in which we work with our children, we've got to embrace and open ourselves up to this notion that it can be different. It doesn't have to be the way we've done it. It doesn't have to be the way I was taught this. It can be different. It can be better. And I think through the use of technology and through the diligent reflection on our own methods and our own techniques, we can hopefully achieve that.